Hello, my audience. I'm reviewing G.I. Joe Retaliation. I give this 10 points out of 10. It reminds me so much of the Transformers the movie from 1986 flick. Is why I love this movie. The plot and the explosion fest. And how it has the goal to kill off the leader of the G.I. Joe from the show, Duke. That's something that the original animated flick teased but never followed through and just said he was in a coma but never killed him in the coma. After the backlash of Transformers, the movie killed off the main leader, Optimus Prime, from the fandom. That's why I love G.I. Joe Retaliation. It says, fuck you fans. Here's some explosion and chaos. And sexy women and, The Rock playing The Rock as the main protagonist of the film. So it feels like a G.I. Joe sequel without the main mascot of the franchise, but with starring The Rock, who isn't as talented actor as Channing Tatum, because he's always playing Rock. Even when he works, arguably I think he works fine in this movie. Even when he works fine like he does in this movie, or like in Moana, we play Maui, you can tell he's still just playing himself, The Rock. He's playing the same character every time. When it works or doesn't work, he's always The Rock. The comedic Rock, the buffoon Rock, the Moana Rock, that tries to please everyone, but wants to be loved. It's kind of like Rock's character arc as a whole in real life. He wants to be everyone's favorite superstar, so he's willing to do anything to please everyone. Never realizing, like the character Maui, it was never going to be enough for people to love him, no matter how much pointless deeds he does. Very symbolizing The Rock, who he was in real life, is who Maui symbolizes. And also the character, gross character arc Rock is going to in real life, how, he's trying to please everyone, get everyone to like him still, so. But he hasn't ever realized, he realized later in his career, or maybe never still, supposedly, Smash Machine was a good movie. I haven't seen it. Starring The Rock. Supposedly play someone else other than himself. And The Rock is fine in the G.I. Joe Retaliation movie, but he's still The Rock. He's not playing a G.I. Joe character. He just likes himself too much. He's named after a G.I. Joe character. So yeah, if you like G.I. Joe and you like The Rock movies, when he's in movies as the main lead, you might like this movie. If you don't like both, and you just like one over the other, like G.I. Joe, you're not going to like this movie. Because this has a lot more to do with The Rock than it has to do with the ensemble G.I. Joe team members. That wasn't the problem with the first movie. My guess is Rock has some creative input on this movie. I'm not saying Rock's a bad actor. I'm saying he's not a serious actor. As in, when you know what you're going to expect from him, that's not a serious actor. That's just a competent actor. And he is a competent actor with his career. Movies, usually he is very good at what he does. Considering he's the same thing over again. So yeah, if you're not a big fan of The Rock, but you're a big fan of G.I. Joe, you are going to be let down by this movie. Especially if you are a fan of the first G.I. Joe movie, but want to see the characters continue the characters that they introduced in the first movie, you're going to be let down because it's a bit of a massacre, similar to Transformers the animated movie from the 1986 flick. As in, it kills like the most important character, Duke, the leader of the G.I. Joe team that leads them into battle. After he just became the briefly at the beginning, the movie decides to kill him off at the halfway point of the movie. Pretty gruesomely, actually. He gets caught in an explosion. Blown up. So, it is what it is. Personally, I'm a fan of Rock and a fan of G.I. Joe franchise and a fan of the first one. But I'll admit this was kind of a bit of a step down from the first one in terms of quality as a fan of the franchise. It kind of became too much about the Rock character, the actor playing the Rock in this movie. I felt like the Rock was in a bit too much for to show to really do like a true sequel that really does justice for the fans. Proper sequel that feels like it should focus just on the team of not just like you know the team of Cobra and team of Joe, people that are on the team. You know, it's like, but this is focused too much on the Rock. The first one didn't have that problem. It knew how to focus and flesh out both the bad and good guys on the teams, Cobra and G.I. Joe team. So this movie, I feel like The Rock just had too much screen time. He's a G.I. Joe member, but it feels like this is the only relevant character in the movie that's on G.I. Joe team and or the Cobra Commander team. I feel like because Rock's in the movie so much, the other characters don't have enough time to feel relevant and classic and iconic in their own right. The Rock just hogs too much of the spotlight in this movie. Unfortunately. Personally, I think this is one of Rock's better movies, but I think it's one of a lamer G.I. Joe movie. It's less awesome as a G.I. Joe movie, it's more awesome as a Rock movie from his career outing as movies that he has on his lineup. So yeah, well, I did like this, and I wish it did more justice in fan service, like the first one did with the brand. But I feel like the sequel kind of killed the franchise, or whatever redeeming you could do to make a. I don't think you could actually make a third one with this movie, because this no longer has Duke, the main character that was the leader of the Joe team. This movie killed him off. So technically, if you wanted to make another GI Joe movie, I think you need Duke, the leader, because not many people is going to see the guy that doesn't traditionally the person into battle as the leader. I don't think that's going to be harder to win people over. So I think they're going to have to reboot it in live action again if they do want to do a more faithful adaptation of GI Joe, like the first one was trying to do. Like the first one felt like a modern representation for GI Joe brand because it focused on the team instead of on one character. It focused a good job balancing and fleshing out the good and bad guys on Cobra Commander's team. Also, Cobra Command this time has more of a facial design that he wore similar to his original outing design from the brand, instead of looking more grotesque and like a nightmare fuel monster like he did in the first movie. So yeah, he has a different design. He wears like a mask and helmet as his design. He doesn't have his face exposed and doesn't look so. I kind of miss the old design more than your standard Cobra Commander design works. I think that looks better in live action than the traditional design. In terms of making Cobra menacing and cool for my audience. The whole movie felt like this was a rock movie because there was so much of him in it. It felt like a rock movie with the characters from the brand G.I. Joe that you want to see the movie focus on, but don't focus on. The whole lot of bad guys or good guys get fleshed out neither. They just come across as your standard bad guys because neither one gets fleshed out a whole lot on screen time but dialogue. And Snake Eye doesn't get any backstory. He just gets action scene, even though he's still cool as ever. You see, Snake Eye doesn't talk, so without like any fleshing out him more or giving more depth, or he just comes across another action hero, especially because it is cool that he still doesn't talk like the show Snake Eye, but I wish they gave him more depth wise and more thing to do with the plot than just give him his action shots of him kicking ass. I wish there was more reason why Snake Eye was in this movie other than being a teacher to new ninjas. While still being relevant, while still being helping G.I. Joe. This this movie was good and all, but I wish it was better as a G.I. Joe fan. It's kind of let down as a G.I. Joe fan, but it was good for me as a fan of The Rock movies in his lineup. Definitely one of the better ones in his lineup, but definitely one of the weaker adaptations of all time with a brand known to the public. And this adaptation was the brand G.I. Joe. This kind of lame as a G.I. Joe movie. Definitely, it's worth giving if you're a G.I. Joe fan of any G.I. Joe ever, or if you're just a fan of the G.I. Joe first movie. If you're a fan of the brand, you're not going to probably like this movie, but if you're a fan of the Rock movies and what he brings to the table with his movie lineup, then you're probably going to like this and get joy out of it. For me, this movie's a mixed opinion on my part, but I still want to give it a 10 out of 10. That's my review on G.I. Joe Retaliation. Goodbye, subscribe. Like this video, please.